To your wonderful listeners of Real FM 91.9, 91.5, www.therealfmgrenada.com. And of course, it is a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday. And whenever you hear Ajamu, pray for the nation, you know it is the Eastern Division with the conversation with the Rgpf. And this morning, it's none other than a wonderful conversation that we would be having. We would have that discussion this morning and ensure that you, our wonderful listeners, yes, is able to garner, to glean, to have a deeper understanding as to how do we live. What are some of the things that we should do to ensure that ourselves, our loved ones, and our families are safe? I am Jessel Grant, Sergeant of Police, attached to the Community Relations Department within the Eastern Division of the Royal Grenada Police Force. And we would continue to strive to work together in making our society safe, not just for ourselves, but for one and all that are within. On that note, before I go even further, I just wish to extend sincere condolences to the family of this young man that had lost his life through that, or resulting from that situation, as it is all in the media. So we know what is out there, we are hearing it, and all we are asking for is that the peace and tranquility of our Most High continue to reign. And as the family go through such a period, such a time, where I'm asking that we as community members, we as various stakeholders, I'm pleading to even that of the various social media platform, that we make good decision and we pay attention to some of the things that we cause or encourage to circulate. And as one student said, at time I went to a school, she says, gas up, She say a lot of time is not what you want to do, but when you get the gassing from persons around you, you behave in a manner that tomorrow you want to ask yourself, can I take it back? What can I do different? And against that backdrop, I am asking our different social medium or media platform to be discreet in the communication or the information that you circulate, the things that you post on your various platforms or pages, because based on the decision that you make, based on what you say, based on how you say what you say, can cause things to be more violent in nature or more disruptive. So all I'm asking, I don't have the facts, I don't know the facts than what is out in John public, but as is reported that one young man did succumb, had lost his life. His family, his loved ones, his friends is in mourning. And on the other hand, the hand that was behind the trigger, family, friends, loved one, he or her self is also in mourning. So there is no win in that. So there is no need for one to rejoice and celebrate over such a situation. It is, how can we as a people, how can I, and that's how I want you, John Public, to look at it. How can I, as an individual and collectively as a people, how can us make that difference? How can we influence our friends, our families, our loved ones to say, when we go out to socialize, when we go out to those social activities, that we go to have clean fun and not to participate in any kind of form of violent behavior. Violence is not the answer. Violence is not the answer. And oftentimes what we've realized that in many situations, the victim, in whatever way or form, does not be the one the incident started off with. Sometimes you go to part, sometimes you go to create that separation, or just because you went there not basically to partake or to take side, but to quell the situation, and one side just perceive that your involvement is to create forces for the opposing end, and you end up being that victim. Be it what it may, I just want to ask us as a people, what we're seeing out there regionally, internationally, let's not bring it here to Grenada. Let's not bring it here to Grenada. One life is way too many. The discharging of a firearm, injuring person or persons, that incident is way too many. One fatal accident, a minor accident, it's way too many. A grievous harm, a maim, wounding, it's too many. Just the mere utterance of threatening language, it is too many. So I'm asking us as a people, let us retract, let us take some time to think and make good decision. And hence the reason why I always say to you listeners, you see something, you hear something, you know something. All we ask of you is to say something, because that's something that you may say. That's something you did not say. Might just be the last and final piece of the puzzle to take us to victory. Just a couple days back, Rgpf had a press brief, and they were speaking of the achievements as well as the minorities that as a country, as an organization, that we had undergone for 2024 and the first quarter of 2025. And while there are many to rejoice and celebrate over and for, there are many that we need to bow our heads in shame for. And that incident, St. Mark's Day, last Sunday, is really one too many that we ought to collectively, as a country, as a people, bow our heads. Let us just stop at this time, people, as a nation. Even tomorrow, Thursday, the 1st of May, being recognized as Labor Day, where the workers get that opportunity to I trust is to reflect and make the necessary adjustments and changes, and even sometimes to socialize. Let us just take a moment out of all of that time and let us rethink. Now, for those of us that is listening and following through, you would realize every holiday that Grenada has becomes a devil day. Why have I used that phrase? Alcohol, lawlessness, the content of the music. No, we could socialize with clean and healthy music, but when you listen to the content, brothers and sisters, community members, if you in your corner do your bit and everyone in their little corner does his or her bit, Grenada will continue to keep its flag flying high. Let us add to our young people, and that is Anderson Peters, Afi Fletcher, Dr. Kirani, Christoph Callis, Ethan Sam, and their likes. Let us add to them. We had Junior Maury. We had the Francis guy from St. Andrew. And the list continue. And all who I call that they are within the sporting discipline, they had contributed to Grenada being recognized on the international and regional market in a positive light. All I'm asking of us who are hearing my voice, and those of you that are hearing, pass it to someone else so that they would get the message also that we should add and contribute to putting Grenada on the international market, on the regional market, not in the negative. Because we are saying to our young people, violence is not the answer. We're saying to our boys and girls, conflict is not the way forward, but it's how do we resolve it. Let us lead by example. Let us show. And I'm not calling out any sector. It is just general. Let us collectively, in our small corner, as an individual, as a person. I've seen within the St. Andrews route, from Grenville to Tivoli, as I've stated it for the last couple of weeks being in studio. Nawasa is doing some digging and erecting of pipes and hydrants along the way. So the roadway has condensed. And seldom drivers want to give up for another. No, the right of way is mine. And even if they see the other driver is just seconds away from a pothole that can cause damage to his or her vehicle, is my right of way and my right of way. And what you realize happening, as the statistics from traffic shows, an increase in motor vehicle accidents within that particular area of St. Andrews. And petty accidents, mirror collision. And what you realize out of mirror collision is that mirrors are damaged, tantrums are thrown, attitude, verbal offenses come into play. I want to ask us as a people, let us just stop at this moment and do some reflection and some introspection before we go forward. Yeah, and if we do that, of course, at this time, we would take a Jamu Pray for Our Nation. So we just have a short interject with our team song, Pray for Our Nation. And I hope with what I had exclaimed thus far, you would understand that we really need to pray for our nation. And if we are praying for our nation, of course, we'll be praying for ourselves, and we would be a better people. So I just take a jamu, we pray for a nation, and then we'll be right back. I just want to have a small discussion. I have no guests this morning, and we'll just have some discussion, just some eye-openers, some reminders. But when I get back after the team song, I want us to look a bit into conflict resolution. We need it. We need to know, how do we as a people resolve conflict? What are some of the things that we need to do when we are faced in those situations? Because I tell you listeners, with my policing experience, 23 years and months, let me tell you what I've experienced. When there is a conflict out there, there are so much persons involved. The two that is actively in it, at the end of the day, either one seeking medical attention or is 6 feet, meaning they're gone, and the other one is in the custody of the police trying to flee the police. But there is no one else with you. No one else is standing up side by side and accepting the charges. You have to stand it alone. Hence, we need to make good decisions. Ajamu, pray for our nation.
That you may protect them with your love, now and forever.
Well, almost a year since Beryl had passed, and we saw the devastation. Just a couple of days ago, we have been getting this rainfalls in different areas and parts of the country, and the slides and the flooding. And we should stop. We should stop and take a look back. All right. Let me just remind you, listeners, if you see something, hear something, we ask of you to say something. And in so doing, we can fight crime and eradicate the fear of crime. As you saw, Rgpf had put out a release asking all on sundry, everyone. And as you say in local language, man, woman, and beast. If you know something in regards to the Victoria incident and you believe you have some form of evidence, please contact CID or just walk into any police station and ask them to guide you or link you onto CID so that you can give whatever information to help bring an end to or solve that whole issue in regards to that behavior or incident that occurred at St. Mark's, right? Of course, the objective of the Rgpf is to protect life and property. Also, we are to reduce the fear of crime and also to aid in preventing and solving crime. But you too, as a community and as a people, has a responsibility to that. But I want to remind you, listeners, come Friday, the 2nd of May, the Eastern Division will be hosting a breakfast sale at the Grenville Police Station yard. We're asking one and all to come on out and participate or partake in that venture. Also, on the 31st of May, Eastern Division will be sailing on board the Embassy Come Party With Us Edition 2. We're asking you, our community members, our citizens, to come and out. Let us have clean and healthy fun. It is all in a worthy cause as we continue to work together as a people and law enforcement. We cannot do it alone. We have to work together. So we're asking you to come on board. Let us work together. The Grenville Police Station is also at the stage in the recruitment drive for community members, persons who resides within the St. Andrew area or the parish of St. Andrew to come on out and enroll in the Citizen Advisory Body. The Citizen Advisory Body, it's a group of community members. We want to have a cross section of community members. So whether you are a farmer, fisherman, a bus driver / operator or owner, a student that you think you can make meaningful contribution on behalf of your community. And community here does not just mean where you live, it also speaks to your student body or bodies. Let us come on out and see how we can aid or collaboratively work together in that vein. All right. This morning, I want to touch a little bit on the whole aspect of conflict resolution. Let us just take the next half an hour into the program and let us just talk about conflict. But not just conflict. How do we resolve it? And when you find yourself there, what are some of the symptoms that you are faced with that you know that things are not right? And also, what can you do when in such situation so that you can protect yourself, stop and prevent it from escalating and their likes? So for those of you that just ask yourself the question, what is conflict? What is conflict? We hear it every day, we go through it, and do we still understand or know what is conflict when we speak to conflict resolution? So of course, a conflict arises when there is a disagreement or a struggle between people with opposing needs or ideas, beliefs, values, or goals. So, for example, I would say I have on a green shirt this morning. Someone would say, no, it's blue. And because we have opposing sides, I hold that to the point that it is green Tom says it is blue, and there is that disagreement. There is that struggle as to what it is. So different viewpoints in on a particular issue, idea, beliefs, values is conflict. Now, is conflict healthy? Yes, sometimes it is. But does conflict has consequences? Does conflict really has consequences? Or can it have consequences? And while one would say, yes, conflict can be healthy, as with everything else, there is the left and the right, or the positive and the negative, because conflict in and of itself, when you look at the outcome on the larger part, is negative, right? But there are some positive outcomes that can be derived out of a conflict if handled properly. If handled properly. What are some of the consequences that one can face or can occur when there is a conflict? And that's the reason why I say whether or not you say yes, conflict is healthy, or whether or not you say it is unhealthy, here are some of the consequences. And listeners, while the information may not be new to you, I just want you to take that time and think. I want us to speak to our loved ones, speak to our siblings, speak to our children, speak to our young men, speak to our male folks, and help them to resolve their conflict. We need to. And I call on my colleagues, because not always we have to make an arrest. There are times we just have to educate our community members, educate our young people. Yes, that might be their viewpoint, but we may just have to tell them or show them that that's not the way, and guide them into making that turn that can make us all rejoice and celebrate. So the consequences of conflict can be harm to others and self. So in the midst of a conflict, or when a conflict arises, you can harm yourself and it had happened, or you can harm others. Conflicts can also cause broken relationship and friendship, and we've seen that every day. As close as within your household, between siblings, between parents and children, between spouses, between all and sundry, it causes within the workplace. Conflict causes broken relationships and friendship. One conflict can also lead to another conflict. So something happened, like we just had the disagreement as regards to my shirt. I'm saying green, you say blue, and when it should end there, it hinges on, or it goes into something else. So it causes a further conflict because it was not resolved or end. Good morning to you, Johnny Mills, and to all my other listeners that is tuned in one way or the other, be it YouTube, be it Facebook, or our normal streaming via our radio platform. It also causes incarceration. That's a consequence, Yeah. Persons being sentenced to prison, and in our young people case, you have the juvenile center or detention. Yeah, conflict do cause that, because as a result of our action at the end of the conflict, an offense is probably committed or had been committed, and as such, That's the outcome, where you are either incarcerated. And incarceration here, we're talking of prison, or even from the time you're detained or arrested by the police. Yes, right? And these are some of the consequences. Another one that plague us, especially young persons who make decision without second thinking, or are gas up, as the young persons would say, to carry themselves in a particular way or behavior. One of the consequences can be a negative criminal record. And listeners, I have experienced so much of our young persons come in and ask, how can I get my record clean? You know, I get a job opportunity. I have some opportunity that faces me. I got to travel, or most times in the case of job, nowadays we have it a lot in education. Persons want to go to study abroad or seeking a scholarship, and you've realized because of their criminal record, because of conducts that they had participated in before, and now it had led to a criminal record, and they want it to be expunged. They want their record to be cleaned. But I say to you listeners, I say to you young man, I say to you young ladies, because when we look at some of our social media videos and photos, and even within our society, our females are no saints, they're no angels. They participate and behave in the same manner as our young men. It's just that our young men are more prevalent. And in some instances, our young men are gassed up. They are influenced by our females. So there's no separation. But I just want the young men to think and realize, even if they are influenced by a female or any other person, you have to stand alone to answer the question. And the worst case scenario in regards to consequences as a result of conflict is that of death. Yes, death. Where we no longer speak with you, but we speak about you. You are no longer here, and you leave your loved ones mourning or ruining. There is that old saying that we grew into, the dog that run away from a fight live to fight another day. And another day doesn't mean tomorrow, because another fight could come and you run again. Because, you know, self-defense is a phrase that we use, but the bigger question is, you have to prove or show that you are defending yourself. You must have to prove. And in the court of law, it is judged against the average man. Don't ask me who is the average man. And that's the reason why we cannot understand some of us who consider ourselves to be educated or learned. We cannot understand when someone, when the jury list comes out and who are selected to be jurors, because they don't want the elite and educated in those matters. They look for the average man. So if you did not have those backing, you didn't have a firearm, you didn't have Tom, Dick or Harry with you, you did not have the cutlass, what would you have done in that same situation? How would the average man responded or react in that situation that you found yourself in? So that's why they take the lame persons, as we consider them to be jurors. And you'd never heard of a retired police officer or a serving police officer or a lawyer or those kind of minded persons to become jurors. And we have to understand that. So hence the reason when we doing things, when we get ourselves involved, we have to think twice. We have to think twice. And when we are in a conflict, some of the traits that are associated, some of the behaviors that that we display is hostility, aggression, anger. We are annoyed. You know, it comes about with displeasure. And of course, all of those elements, listeners, all of those elements. Yes, young man. Yes, madam, young girl, you didn't go to school this morning because you are waiting exams. And you're hearing, don't turn off the radio. Don't switch out of YouTube. You need to hear it because you're probably making good decision, but you need to influence your friends and not stay in the back and lure them or push them or jar them into, or as you say in your language, I just love that phrase, gas them up. You need to tell them, let's walk away. Let's not bother. Let's stay away. Let us stay away from the alcohol. Let us stop vaping, which can alter our mental decision. And if you do that and we exercise and practice those things, of course, when faced with and in a conflict situation, we are able to make better decisions. So when we say as a consequence that we harm others and ourselves, hear how we harm ourselves. And a lot of us place ourselves in that awkward position because in a conflict we are angry, we are upset, we are bitter. And when we are angry, our bodies respond in various ways or different ways. There are different parts of our bodies that are affected as a result of the anger that we are going through. And when that happens, we portray different behaviors. So when we are angry and we are faced with a conflict, it affects our head. And I want to start from on top. It affects the way we make decisions. Because you're angry, you know, all this hormone and this adrenaline rush going through. So we cannot make rational decision. So it affects our head, the way we think, the way we assess things, the way we reason. It also affects our face, which in a lot of situations and cases we cannot hide it. Because for some of us, we face is frowned. You see all the bridges and all the marking on our forehead. You know, nobody wants to come to you. In some of us, our faces get red. You know, we just puffed because we are so upset and we are so mad that we cannot control our appearance. And I'm looking at here as to how it affects you as the individual, us, when we get angry or when we're in a conflict that we do not take control of. Your shoulders, your breathing, your chest is pumping and you barely can speak. Your heart is racing because you are so upset and mad that you are not able to make good decision, that you are now, you know, in that awkward place where decision making is and was a thing of the past. You do not have that good analytical judgment to know. But listeners, young man, young woman, boy, girl, and even speaking to myself and speaking to my colleagues, when faced with a conflict, there are things we can do before it escalates to harming self and others. There are things we can do to prevent the conflict from escalating to where it reaches where it causes us to have a negative criminal record. It causes us to be incarcerated. There are a lot we can do. Walk away. Walk away. Walking away does not mean you are small. Being silent and walk away does not make you smaller. It doesn't prove or show that you are weak. I myself is practicing that whole aspect of voice tonation. When I'm in a conflict, instead of I hit 100 degrees, I go as low as. Because that's what the person coming to you, the person you in that fight with, all they want is the gas. They want the energy. You know, like you have a fire and you throw some kerosene or some gas in it and it causes that blaze. In a conflict, that's what happens. All that person wants is to hear you gas up. So you lift your voice, you use too obscene, you use the threats. That's what he or she wants. And they matches you up here and you climb above theirs and they above you until you have a collision. Somebody pelt a blow. You size up, you pull a weapon. So if you are able to walk away, you are able to drop your voice. And listen, all you can say, hey, I'm not going to participate in such conversation, or I'm not going to continue with that discussion. We are both upset. You are upset. I am upset. Let's leave it alone. We would catch. And walking away doesn't mean you turn and you give your back. You still have to be mindful. You still need to be defensive or protective of yourself because that other person is still agitated. And in some regards, that other person will say, you get big, you're walking out on me. So you're walking away, and as I say, you're still looking behind your back to ensure that that person, I don't want to say opponent, but that person that you had that conflict with, in the event they want to make a move because of the actions you take to break or cease the conflict, that they do not get that upper hand on you or able to damage you. So you walk away, you remain calm, you tone your voice so you don't become obscene and threatening. You control those elements. You breathe. You take, so the time you take to say, by your mother so and so, and all the descriptive, obscene and insulting language, you breathe. Deep breathing from the gut. Yeah, from the gut. You just breathe hard. You're at a job or you're home and mommy speak to you, or elder siblings speak to you, or your guardian speak to you, and you're so upset that you just want to smash. Before you do that, you just take that deep inner breath and engage your mind, your core. You just breathe. And oftentimes it works. Not just for our children at school, as we say, when they throw their tantrum, we tell them breathe. No, as adults, as young people, we need to also exercise those qualities. We need to also practice those things. It's going to help us also. And there are times, that a conflict would arise. You just prevent it by not participating. Yeah, be the bigger one. Hey, sorry, but I'm not feeling comfortable to have such discussion. I prefer not entertain that. Oh, you know what? The last time we started that conversation, or the last time we were at that juncture, it ended up explosive, or there was a dispute. So I think we need a third person. We need to have a witness. We need to have somebody as we think of engaging or we think of participating in that. Be the bigger one. Set boundaries. And if you do that and you stand firm on your words, of course, that other person would realize and understand. Yes, I'm hearing you saying, well, Officer Grant, what happens if he or she does not respond in that manner? It doesn't mean that you have to match them. It does not mean that you have to match them. You still have things that you can do to protect yourself, which in turn would prevent and eliminate that conflict. Because remember, we are looking at ways, we are looking at strategies that we can use, that we can employ to prevent a conflict. Also, when a conflict occurs, how do we de-escalate? How do we stop it? How do we prevent it from getting bigger? If you're trying to understand when I speak of escalation and de-escalation, it simply means how do we stop it from increasing, getting bigger? How do we end it? And of course, these are some of the things that you can do. Walk away. There are a lot of peaceful solutions that you can practice. You know, we grew up when our parents and our grandparents used to say, give up your right for peace. Giving up your right for peace does not mean you lose it all. And as a people, as a country, within the various stratas, within the various organizations, we need to realize, hey, I see trouble. I see that it's going to end in violence. It's going to end with someone being injured. You just give up your right. That does not mean you would not have a redress. So you're behaving in a manner. The police is called in, or the police happen to be on the scene, and they're talking to you. A teacher, a mature person in society realize that there is a conflict. There is a fight and it's going to get hot. And they intervene, not taking side, but just to quell, just to stop, just to separate. And you think, well, no, I have to show my strength. I don't want to say manhood, because our females is as equal to our males. So, walk away. Give up your right for peace. And you are now in a position to seek redress. You are in a position to tell your story. But when you stay there and you fist it off, and you pull your blade, and you pull your weapon, and you pull your gun because I have my tool and I have my thing, so I'm coming back. I don't take in your lash. I don't want police involved. I go deal with it my way. It never ends up nice. And there is no horn of glory to be blown. No. It's only dark and doom with gloom. That's all there is. So it's okay to walk away. It's okay to find peaceful solution in coming about or finding those solutions. There is always a peaceful solution. You see that what they call compromise? A lot of us use it out of context. But sometimes you just give in. Alright, bro. You know he mash you, you know. Sorry. You know he just bunks your drink off. You know she purposely did it because she want to pick a fight. Alright, sorry, I can get you another drink. Doesn't make you small. When that individual go back in their corner, they will realize how foolish they were by their attitude. Hey, I mash him, I bounce him, and he tell me sorry. Yeah. Somebody may gas him up or try to gas you, but you realize that you are preventing a confrontation. You are avoiding a situation. It's okay to explain yourself, but as I say, you have to know when or how. I don't like when you say this to me because you offend me. I am not going to say that to you because I don't like it when it's done to me. It's okay to state and explain your position, but you have to understand the when, the where, and the how. Of course, it is important, because you ain't going to tell me in the heat of a conflict you're standing there with Tom in front of you being so boisterous, so loud and verbally abusive and threatening, and you're fighting to explain your position. No, that's not when you explain. What you need to do is to walk away. Take yourself out of the situation. So listeners, it is very easy to say, Yes, I know it is easy to say. Yeah. But listeners, brothers and sisters, my very own colleagues, and I'm also speaking to Jessel Grant, if we practice it, it will become a part of us and it will be very easy. When our parents and grandparents says to us, give up your right for peace, they know it's not as easy said, but many of them had practiced it and they see the positive outcome. Many of them had practiced it and they see persons coming and apologizing, or persons coming to make amends, because up front, in the face of everybody else, they gave up their right for peace. Be the bigger person. And when faced with a situation, walk away. Whether it is at home, whether it is at your workplace, whether it is at the school, whether it is in your community, whether it is at a social activity. Yes, I know you pay your 150, your 100, your 90, your 60, your 70. You buy your outfit to go and have clean fun. But when you get there, you realize that there is that individual that decide to sour you. It's okay to forego that money is not that you have spent for that activity. Walk away, even if you mean going back home. Save yourself the trouble, because the way in which you may respond and the way in which he or she push you, or how they may respond, it may not and would not be nice or give a pleasant taste at the end. We have to remember, yes, we are resilient people. Grenada had proven and shown that we have that in us. But there are times when we need to employ the softer skills of conflict resolution and not standing up to prove a point. Conflict is not the way. It's not the answer. Violence is not it. So I trust this morning, listeners, that you had gleaned and gathered something from the conversation with the Rgpf. And wherever you are in your small corner, I ask you to make that interject. If you do it in your corner, and if all of us practices it in our own corner, by the time we are connected like a chain, of course, it would be. And I'm not saying that there would not be some deviant ones. I'm not saying that there are those that would be there and would not want to test you. But that's the only time you would know how strong you are in terms of conflict resolution, when you are faced in the midst of a situation and you are able to be man enough, when you are able as a woman to say, listen, I've put an end. No, I'm not going to continue. I would not participate because it does not look nice. Or let us put it off for another day when we both have better control. Or let us get a third person. Let us have a witness to sit in with us as we discuss or make those decisions. And of course, listeners, wherever you are within your small corner, while this program is out of the Eastern Division, wherever you are hearing my voice, by whatever means, you can use those information to brighten your corner, and we say goodbye to violence. We say goodbye to the negative consequences of conflict, which speaks to harming oneself, harming a person, broken relationship and friendship, further conflicts, incarceration, and negative criminal records, and the uttermost meaning death. On that note, I say goodbye and thank you for staying tuned with the conversation with the Rgpf. But before I go, let me remind you, if you see something, hear something, know something, we ask you to say something. And please come on out and participate at our breakfast sale this Friday at the Grenville Police Station Yard. And May 31st, Eastern Division will be sailing on board the Embassy. Come party with us, edition 2. Contact the Grenville Police Station 442-7224, 405-3153, or walk into the station to purchase your ticket. Let us have clean and healthy fun, the police and the community working together. Bye for now. We will speak again next Wednesday with the conversation with the Rgpf.